folks. Welcome back to an all-new episode of So Bad It's Good. Listen, I've had the pleasure of talking to our next guest a bunch of times through the years. And as you know, in my personal, I don't really talk to anybody. So my chance to catch up with friends is to invite them on the podcast. And you might know her as a very talented actor, writer, influencer, TikToker, Instagrammer. And she's been touring her one-woman show, Doing All Right. I think it seems like a billion years now, but I think there's an exciting announcement on this one-woman show that I highly recommend that you see. Today, we're going to talk about And Just Like That and whatever else comes up. We have the one and only, the very talented Nicole Travolta. Nicole, welcome back.
Ryan, can you intro me like this every morning that I wake up? I want this intro playing for myself every time I rise out of bed.
The audience knows it. That's I always say that's as good as it's going to get for this. This is as good as this conversation will get. Was that intro?
That was it.
And by the way, now so many people ask me to do intros that I do call a list of 100 people in the morning, and I give them intros every day.
People don't even need meditation apps anymore. They're just we've got Ryan Bailey on our alarm clock. I want to wake up and be she's a comedian. This is Nicole Travolta.
She is doing it, you guys. And she's not going to rest. She's not going to quit until everything works out. Okay, so listen, we're going to get to it just like that. But I did want to talk about the one-woman show, Doing All Right, because you not only toured this in Los Angeles and New York, but then you did it everywhere overseas, which I think we talked about it at one point, which I think is just so insane because you were constantly kind of changing pieces of the show, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's been the most unbelievable ride. I mean, you saw the show when it first kind of opened. So
I saw it at the Groundlings Theater.
Yes.
And it was great then, but it's also your personal life story, which you do a lot of your voices and your characters, but it's all, to your story. But the reason why I was so curious about this, I was just finishing listening to an interview with Steve Martin, and he was talking about his stand-up in the 70s and how, it's it got bigger and bigger, but he would focus on every line, and every time of the stage, it would be notes of make sure your hand movements are minimal. And it kept him so invested in the process until it got too big in the early 80s where he was I can't do this anymore because I'm filling stadiums and it's no longer comedy. It feels like a rock show. Yeah. And I just thought about you because I was how do you know when something is done? How do you know when, and this is a story about your life, what consistently drives you to tell this story?
It's the Steve Martin comparison. I'm oh, that's so nice. Because I look up to him so much. So I think about the things that you're saying, and I know exactly what you're talking about when he's talked about stuff like this. And a lot of comedians and people who do one-person shows do talk about this. I think, for me, when I started it, I didn't ever expect it to go this far. I really thought I was doing 2 shows and then I was done, and then
that's the life of an actor, by the way, right? Is you kind of take shots and you don't really expect any of them to have any kind of lasting appeal.
Exactly. And so you just sort of do this thing, and then I did it all over the place: Vegas, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, LA, and then I did the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh. And then this past year, and then I went to New York and did a 2-week test off Broadway, and it did really well. And so from that point, I've now been working for about a year and a half to bring it back. And then we're going to do a full commercial off-Broadway run starting in December with some previews.
You're going to do a 3-month run with this thing off Broadway. So when would we be able to get tickets, or how do we get tickets when that happens?
It will be, I'll definitely send them to you, but it will be, I think they'll go on sale sometime in September. But I in answer to your question, I think this is something that for me, the story is hitting audiences every time in a way that I think it's so relatable, especially to women. And I feel alive still every time I'm telling that story. And I'm adding and I'm changing and I'm going deeper with it. If you saw it again, I think it would be a different show. And I feel I'll know when it's done. And when it's done is when HBO Max turns it into a television series.
Well, listen, speaking of, you were saying, speaking as a woman, and just like that is speaking to women. And they do seem like they have a hole in their programming now that in Just Like That is not coming back. But who knows if in Just Like That hurt your chances or helped your chances? Because I feel like it really went south, especially, I guess, towards the end. But when you're dealing with your own personal story, though, what I think is fascinating and sometimes what scares me is that you are mining your personal life and you are being open and honest through a comedic lens. But that has to be hard to kind of reveal that because, you're talking about instances in your life that were kind of tragic or traumatic in a sense. That to me is where I sometimes disconnect and I'm like, oh, that would be so hard because if an audience doesn't respond, how do you not take that personally?
Yeah, I'm so eternally grateful that they have because it is scary. It is scary to stand up there and have that you're sort of laying it all out. But what I also think too is that there's something for me that's very cathartic about it. And I think going up there for me is almost like a form of, because a lot of the show is about me sort of creating a facade of my life, sort of not really being honest about who Nicole really is and really finding myself. And so I just feel like when I'm up there, it gives me this sense of like, okay, I'm sort of in this very big growth period of my life and being able to talk about these things. And I feel, I just said this recently too, but it made me kind of emotional, actually a lot emotional, that I feel that the show has grown because I'm continuing to grow. And so I think that that's what really lends itself to the audience is getting up there and really being honest. And it's not about playing the victim. It's not about, a sob story, but it's really about that we're all human beings. We make a lot of mistakes. We're all doing this life together for the first time. And it's really humanizing these things that I don't believe a lot of people really talk about, especially women, because we have so much shame around the topics of like, debt, divorce, shopping, addictions, that sort of serotonin release, credit cards. Like it really is a thing that people don't discuss that much because they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like an idiot or whatever. So I don't know. I think there's something very humanizing about it. And that's what sort of kept me going, which has been, I'm so grateful to you've been so supportive. Everyone, I'm taken to my knees over it all the time. So
no, really and I'm so proud of you. And I think it's so cool that you're keeping this going, but it is interesting just talking about like the art of it and trying to separate yourself from the actual show, if that is at all possible.
Yeah.
And then getting feedback, good or bad, and trying to, not restage, but work on minor aspects of a performance and being able to really dig in. So it's really exciting that you continue to be able to do this. What was that?
No, I was going to say, I think that that's a good way to do it is that sometimes I think I forget how emotionally connected I am to it. And then how exhausted you are from telling the story after, but so you're kind of trying to find a way to sort of turn it on and then turn it off because it does. It kind of, I'm replaying this thing in my head over and over and over again. But my trick has sort of been to get off and the stage and just feel this sense of being proud of being able to even do this, which is, but it's hard. It's not easy.
I've never been able to have that feeling of pride. I've never, that must just be amazing, Nicole, to feel pride. No, it is so funny. And I really can see this adapted into, we've talked about that through the years that I'm like, oh, this could obviously be adapted for TV. And you think about the TV landscape right now and with streaming and, you were talking about The Hunting Wives before we started this and just like that and how many things there are out there right now and how hard it is to get people's eyes or ears, whether it be social media or a show. There's so many things vying for our time and our attention right now. And I feel like that's even more like, you've been acting for a couple decades now, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And the landscape in TV and film is so different than it was when I was first out here like 20 years ago. It's so completely different. So I'm like, how do you stand out? And maybe this is how you do it, is the grassroots campaign of a story. No, that you workshop for years and years and years. And all you need is one yes. As Lady Gaga says, all you need is one person. You need your Bradley Cooper.
I need my Bradley Cooper.
Well, no, screw men. You don't need a man. That's not what I mean.
We don't need a man, but no, I know what you mean. But I think it's just like, I mean, I say this to you too, is that I know you're like, I've never felt that sense of pride, but you should. I mean, I'm proud. I feel so proud of you. Anytime I come on this show, look at what you've created off of things that you are interested in and
insane.
love. And
I have its facetiousness when I say that, but
I know, but I have to give you some love.
It's insane to think that I get to do this every day, for better or worse. And sometimes it's worse, and sometimes you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I get paid to talk about the stuff that I would be talking about regardless. Now, and just like that, I also noticed on your social media, you do impressions, obviously, of pretty much everybody, but you've taken the impression to now almost a Carrot Top level, because I saw that you bought Carrie Bradshaw's strawberry shortcake hat from this season, and that looks like the exact hat. Is that the exact hat that she was wearing this season?
Okay, so sometimes what everyone should know is that sometimes I get a really crazy idea and then I have to see it through. Like, I become obsessed with it. So I saw that hat, and I'm not kidding you. People associate and just like that, they're like, oh, Nicole's coming with something. And I'm not kidding, 20 DMs being like, you got to get the bonnet. I'm like, where do I get this bonnet? So I called my stepmom, love you, Susan. And I said, I need this hat. Do you think you could make me one? But could you make it bigger? And she sat down, handmade that hat, literally bought the fabric, the hat, sewed it together, and shipped it in a massive shipping box to my house. The queen level of this hat. Like, everyone, please, I don't even care if you watch it, but you got to go check out this hat because it is so...
No, it's on her Instagram and her TikTok. Well, it looks really damn close. And I was thinking like, oh my God, Sarah Jessica Parker's, all her wardrobe and just like that has got to be millions of dollars. In fact, she just did an interview this week where she said, she has most of Carrie Bradshaw's outfits, and sometimes she even wears them out. And I'm like, maybe this is why Max canceled the show, is because you were stealing costumes the entire time.
They have no money.
Yeah. You're out there with this hat. You're filming, you're filming out in public with the hat. I mean, the hat itself is like, kudos to the hat, because usually it's your impressions that will kind of do it up. But the hat is doing a lot of work here.
I mean, the hat, it really needed to be, because, I always think of a great impression is that I think sometimes I find that the internet specifically gets very stuck on like, this isn't exactly like that. Or it did this, user 5372 tells you that your voice is off. But to me, I think a great impression, and this is just my opinion, is finding the fun in something and then making it bigger. And it's building the character from the character. And the hat for me was such a thing, like watching her walk around in a bonnet and just like that. And then getting to do that, I went to Beverly Hills, and I'm not kidding you, people were stopping and taking videos of me. And I was like, I'm also in like the Carrie Bradshaw house. I mean, this is kind of more original Sex in the City, but where she wore like the boxer briefs. And I'm walking around Beverly Hills in boxer briefs, high heels, and a strawberry shortcake hat. Like, what am I doing with my life?
That's showbiz, baby. That's Hollywood. If you were on a TMZ tour and you saw Nicole in this hat, you'd be like, okay, I got my money's worth. I saw something Hollywood today. Now I want to talk about our friends over at Mint Mobile. So you know what doesn't belong in your epic summer plans? Getting burned by your old wireless bill. And that is why I made the switch to Mint Mobile, and I am saving oodles of money. And now, for a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless service for $15 a month on the nation's largest 5G network. You're going to say goodbye to jaw-dropping monthly bills, those unexpected overages. Oh my God, one summer I paid an insane amount in overages. Mint Mobile is going to be here to rescue you. So it comes with that high-speed data, the unlimited talk and text on that largest 5G network. So ditch your overpriced wireless network and get 3 months of unlimited service from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. I love it. So this year, what are we going to do? We're going to skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get this new customer offer and your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/sobad. That's important. mintmobile.com/sobad, even though it's so good. That's mintmobile.com/sobad. Upfront payments of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. We are talking about our friends at Quince today. Now, I just wore a Quince product the other night. I wore my beautiful, breathable navy sports jacket, which has come so in handy this summer. I'm actually overusing it. So why drop a fortune on basics when you don't have to? Quince has the good stuff, high-quality fabrics, classic fits, and lightweight layers for warm weather, all at prices that make sense. Everything I've ordered from Quince has been nothing but solid. They have the closet staples you're going to want to reach for over and over, like cozy cashmere and cotton sweaters from just $50, breathable flow knit polos, and comfortable lightweight pants that somehow work for both weekend hangs and dressed up dinners. And the best part, everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middlemen, Quince gives you the luxury pieces without the markup. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. So, you got to keep it classic and cool, like your boy Ryan, LOL. You're going to have long-lasting staples from Quince. Go to quince.com/sobad for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/sobad to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/sobad. Folks, I have a new product I'm obsessed with, and that is IndaCloud. Some days, your brain needs a vacation your body can actually afford, and that's where IndaCloud comes in. You juggle the chaos. Listen, I'm talking about Bravo's The Valley for 3 hours at a clip. I do that. I have to answer emails. You even go outside sometimes. So yeah, you've earned a better way to unwind. Enter IndaCloud. It's federally legal THC in the form of gummies, pre-rolls, and flower designed to turn hanging on into fully chilling. So, if you're 21 or older, head to indacloud.co, indacloud.co, and use code SOBAD, even though it's so good, to get 25% off your first order plus free shipping. That's indacloud.co, code SOBAD, 25% off, free shipping, just a better vibe in your mailbox. I got to tell you, the first time I tried IndaCloud, I was having a night, right? I was really super burned out. I had been talking about Jax Taylor for a very long time, and that can really eat at you. And then I took a gummy, and everything kind of just fell away. I was able to tune out my work and just vibe. We love to say the word vibe, and I was vibing. So whether you're chasing deeper sleep, better focus, or just some peace between your streaming marathons, okay, that's directed totally at me. This is how adults get elevated now. If you're 21 or older, just to remind you, now is your chance to float above the stress because IndaCloud is giving all new customers 25% off their first order plus free shipping. Just use code SOBAD or click the link in the show notes to claim your discount. That's indacloud.co, indacloud.co. Use code SOBAD for free shipping plus 25% off your first order. Fill out their quick survey when you order to support this show. That is really important, and I appreciate that in advance. And make your week more enjoyable. All thanks to IndaCloud. So, And just like that, you watched the third season, and we've talked. I think the first time we talked was on the first season of And Just Like That, which it's been such a journey. And I guess just, not as a creator yourself, but just as a fan of Sex and the City and a fan of these women in general, what was your overall sense of this fever dream called And Just Like That, and maybe especially this last season?
I am such a fan of these women and the original. Yes. I mean, we know this, right? And especially like these women like essentially raised us, when that first show ended.
1998 to 2004, it was an iconic run.
Iconic. And that series ended, I cried. Something happened in this series where I just felt that sometimes I felt Carrie was locked in, but everyone else was sort of off to the races. It's almost like, to me, they got in a room and they were like, here's a script, but we don't, just do whatever you want. And so everyone's just doing whatever they want on screen, and nothing really, there's little things like I have one thing that I have to talk about is that like I couldn't get past the size of Harry and Charlotte's bed.
I thought you were going to talk about Harry's erection.
Forget that. That. Let's talk about that. What did he say?
Wait.
Crisp I'm crisp and ready to base. Like, are you kidding?
Just like a Thanksgiving turkey. This show, I was telling the audience, this show is written, and I don't know if you agree, it's written like a multicam. It's written like a multicam comedy, like Roseanne, or where they had a laugh track. So every joke, it's like we should be holding for the laughter that they expect, because they're all doing like hard punchlines. And that's what I found fascinating. Was I was like, I wish I could do an experiment where I would just put laugh tracks under all of the lines, because it all seems like almost. And also like Borscht Belt comedians, like old Jewish comedians, but every character has a similar tone of voice, even though they're all very separate people. And that's what I find fascinating, was that the original series didn't have that. And this one, and by the way, this isn't like, they're not improvising on set. This is a written show.
A written script. Yes.
There's a podcast called And Just Like That talks with Michael Patrick King and the writers of the show. And, everybody makes that joke of this is written by AI. No, it's written by people. But I just don't know creatively, because they seem sort of proud of it, or that's the public, their MO when they do interviews of like, well, we just thought this was a place to stop and we thought it was very fitting. How would you think this is very fitting for anything? And I want to make it clear, I'm not, man, it's so hard to get anything made. It's so hard to do any of this. So there's one hand of like, I love all of these women. I have no ill will, but I'm so befuddled at the same time watching this season.
I feel the exact same way. The laugh track thing is so spot on. It really is like a multi-cam sitcom. And the same, I have nothing but, just the amount of work that goes into what they're doing is an obscene amount of work to get something on the air, to redo something, to all of that stuff. So taking that into an account, yes. But at the same time, I just feel something it got completely lost the wrong way. And people are like, oh, well, they're just in these different phases of their lives. And I'm like, but think about when they were in like the Sex and the City movie, and they were, Samantha, what did she turn 50 in the Sex and the City movie? It's like that was still the same. So what happened? Why change the whole thing when you could really keep it the same and just continue to grow and evolve their characters? But you've got these jokes that are like, I'm crisp and ready to baste. Like, what? Like,
wait. Because I'm having a good time, so I steamrolled you as I usually do. Is you were mentioning Harry and Charlotte's bed? It's like a twin size bed. It's like, for some reason, they have the tiniest bed. They're rich as shit, and they have the tiniest bed. If you notice, Carrie has a bigger bed. Even those little details where I'm like, could you fill us in why you have a cot in your bedroom?
Have you ever heard of the thing in like any sort of comedy or whatever, is that you always want to answer questions for the audience pretty quickly, because
Yeah.
if not, then what happens to your brain is that the show continues on, but my brain is
You're
still
thinking on the bed.
I'm
Yes.
still thinking about the bed. And why is it that I'm trying to figure out how to get a California king into my closet of a room, but these people are rich in the Upper East Side or whatever the hell they live, and they're in like a twin? Like,
And
what?
then it gets us thinking about of like, oh, that must be a production thing. Like, did they, and we shouldn't be thinking about behind the scenes, but when you're watching it just like that, all you do is think about behind the scenes instead of the storylines. Cause you're like, how did that get in the show? Or like, what happened to Steve's hearing aids?
Oh,
like
gosh.
Steve was in the last 2 episodes after not being in like most of this season. And then he shows up and he's like, Miranda, what's going on? I can't believe my stupid kid got some girl pregnant.
And then he's like,
he doesn't have
the banana, the condom and the banana or whatever he said. That's a terrible impression, but my God, like what?
But where's his hearing aid? They had a whole storyline where Steve had hearing loss, and that's when Miranda unceremoniously dumped him and went to women. And like, I was like, where are the hearing aids? Where are Steve's hearing? And I know that's a little detail, but I can't stop thinking about these little things.
Because they're not, that's the thing is like, I just feel like they're not connecting the dots at all. So there's these missing things that we're remembering because they're prominent things. You're not bringing in Steve that much. And one of his major storylines was that he had needed hearing aids, ate ice cream, bowls of ice cream, and
they made him just like a real schlub. It was like, I've given up on life, Miranda. Yeah.
And then he was seeing someone or something, and it wasn't the girl from the natural food store or something like that. Like, what happened to her? Are they still dating? Like, I have questions that they're not answering. So we're literally going through this cycle, and your brain is getting stuck on this, like, these one specific things. And I always think it's important as much as you can, or if you're listening to the audience whatsoever, being like, wait, what happened to this? Like, we're filling the gaps in our own brains, and why aren't you handling it? It's weird.
Yeah, totally. But creatively too, is that, and I say this on a very small level as a creator of a podcast, is that, I do want to listen to the audience, but you're also told maybe don't listen too much because sometimes that can throw you so far off track, or I'll find a negative comment and it'll floor me to the place where I'm scared to like go to a microphone again, or I'm constantly trying to edit myself. And that is not a good place in which to create anything. So it is Sarah Jessica Parker. There was just an interview that came out today, and I think she was kind of lightly asked. Everybody's scared to tell Sarah Jessica Parker that they dislike the show not dislike the show, but they're very befuddled by the show to her face. And somebody asked her about it, and she said, really, she goes, I don't care at the end of the day because these characters are so beloved and so many people have such a history with these characters, which is like, oh, totally. You are 100% right. Like, I still love all of these characters. I'm not even a woman and I love these characters, but maybe you should care a little bit. Like when it's this much, like maybe because there didn't seem to be. And you guys, this is really not, it's a conversation about it just like that, but it's also a conversation that I was interested in having about creating because when you're too big to fail, it's almost like Enron, where it's like this thing is so big, everybody's getting paid so much money, and there are so many eyeballs on it. What does that do to you creatively? And then to have 3 seasons where each season has been uniquely lambasted for different reasons, from Che Diaz to now. And then just to be like, well, I don't care. Like, okay, is that true? Or are you just saving face? Like, how aware are these creators of what the audience thinks?
I think that to me is also the nail on the head, because I do agree with you is that, and I do the same thing. You can get 100 amazing, sweet, supportive comments, and you have one that's just, I will never understand people on the internet that are saying ridiculous, mean comments. If I don't like something, I just keep scrolling. And we're really not that much I don't like. Like, I mean, it really has to be like as far as comedy, you know what I'm trying to say. It needs to be horrible and not humane. But I feel like
you're like beating animals. That's like too far. You might leave a comment on that.
Yeah, right. I will leave a comment on that. Like doing bad things to humanity. We don't want that. But I'm never going to leave a bad comment on something that somebody's putting themselves out creating. And I think you have to be careful of that, of taking it too much. And then you don't want to create because then you're listening too much or whatever. But in this case, I do think that if you're too big to fail, it's like you're not growing. So now for
there's
3
no risk
seasons,
you're not risking anything.
Right. And of course these women are beloved. I love them. Even watching the show, I didn't love the way that this all panned out. But I mean, I wanted 100 more episodes. Like, I never wanted it to end.
That's why I think it's such an important show to study. And Sophie, my Monday co-host, was like, oh, this is going to really besmirch the reputation of this whole franchise. And I disagreed with her to a degree because I'm like, we are quick to forget on things that we truly love. And I do feel that this show did get canceled, even though they said this is the place they want to stop. I've said that time and time again. But I also do think, and it seems like there are little hints out there, or Sarah Jessica Parker's being a little cryptic when she is talking about this, that I do think there is a possibility for another movie. I don't think HBO is going to do another show, but I mean, I think there is a way that they would want to wrap this up that is not the way we saw it wrapped up. Because you didn't have the women together. At Thanksgiving.
And usually they typically end with like the all of them together, and so then it was like this whole thing of Carrie, sort of choosing herself, which I think is beautiful. And I think that you should choose yourself always. But it just felt a little like, I hate to say, a little cliche. I don't know.
You could say, I mean, well, once Carrie was writing this book, you guys, for those that don't watch And Just Like That, and it was her first fictional novel, and she talked about her character in the third person of the woman was in her garden and realized that she was not alone, she was on her own. And, we're supposed to be like, wow, but there was a little bit of a cliche thing because we've heard that sentiment so many times that you're like, it's a good way to wrap up a season, but to wrap up a series, that makes no sense, and it almost disrespects a certain legacy. And I can't speak to this, you can, but I think this is an important show to women, especially Sex and the City. And you don't want to leave this message of, well, you get corny as fuck when you get older. Like, don't even, just keep your mouth shut as you get older because it gets insane.
I always thought, too, that was the best part about it is that not that, the aging process and all that, but it was almost, they were always the women who you thought would never happen to. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like it's almost like Betty White. You know what I mean? Like, Betty White, through her whole life, maintained, like, I was like, that woman forever is an icon. Like, she's 80-something years old and still, like, she's like, I'm not old. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she would never, I don't feel like she ever gave into that. So,
and by the way, Betty White, I knew a lot of people that had worked with her or even did like on set with her for like one day, and they all had the best things to say about how great Betty White was. Cloris Leachman is another one. Anybody that was around Cloris Leachman, they were like, she was just incredible.
What do you think Kim Cattrall thinks?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to remind the audience that there obviously was a falling out between Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall. And Kim Cattrall is always so loved in my heart because of the 1987 movie Mannequin, where she played a mannequin that came to life. And as a little kid, I fell in love with Kim Cattrall. Like, I was to the point where I would go with my mom to like JCPenney's and I would just stare at mannequin. Like, it was weird. There was a weird, and I think it's Andrew McCarthy. Like, I wanted to ride a motorcycle like Andrew McCarthy. And I was like, oh, maybe my life will have something to do with I was really obsessed with the movie Mannequin. And that's where I was like, Kim Cattrall. And then she played Samantha Jones. And she was so beloved for this role. And then she did the 2 movies, you guys. And then she kind of made it clear that she did not want to continue on, even though Sarah Jessica Parker did. And they wanted to continue on with the movies. But there was reports saying Kim felt overshadowed by Sarah Jessica Parker, and that she was getting more attention in interviews, promotional material, and award recognition. And Cattrall obviously had this established career, like I said, mannequin, among with other respected things. So it was kind of this weird thing about screen time and storyline, salary negotiations, and creative differences. None of this was officially confirmed, but the dynamic was reportedly, quote, tense but professional during the original run. So then the movies happened after 2004, the first movie 2008, the second movie 2010. And that after that second movie, something broke in Kim Cattrall. And that led us to 2017 when Kim's brother passed away. And Kim Cattrall tweeted publicly saying she did not need, quote, thoughts and prayers from people who, quote, pretended to be her friend for 30 years, referencing Sarah Jessica Parker and others, or at least that's how it was interpreted. Sarah Jessica Parker responded privately and later publicly offered condolences, but Cattrall indicated that she didn't consider SJP a true friend. And quotes from Kim around this time said, "I don't know that we've ever been friends. I have friends I can count on one hand that I know I can call, and she is not one of them." Another quote says, "I think some people pretend to be your friend, and they're not." And Sarah Jessica Parker, on the other hand, always just expressed sadness about the situation, calling it unfortunate and emphasizing that she, quote, always loved Kim professionally. She refused to be in And Just Like That, which led to the second season, something so crazy and ridiculous in a sense. But if you didn't know behind the scenes, we did have a Kim Cattrall moment where she takes a phone call from Sarah Jessica Parker. Now, Kim Cattrall, you guys, said she would do it for Michael Patrick King, but she refused. She refused to be on set around Sarah Jessica Parker. So for all you Vanderpump fans out there, it's very reminiscent of the Scandal season when the reunion, Sheena couldn't be within 500 yards of Raquel Leviss, so they put Sheena in a little mini trailer. And so there's this scene. And Kim Cattrall, by the way, acts the shit out of this little scene on a phone.
Yeah, she does.
But Sarah Jessica Parker's voice was not on that phone. It was not a live call. And she was doing her acting, and she was doing it out of respect for her character, Samantha. And that is kind of the story in a minute about their feud. But it's so sad because I think we loved these female friendships so much that it's really hard to stomach that it's like when the Beatles break up or something.
Yeah,
it's like you want everybody to be there.
Samantha's character in the original was between, they all were, but her and Carrie, that dynamic of their friendship was so
the best.
It was the best. For me, it was the best part of the show. And having those strong personalities and her not being there, I think it was a detriment. I think it was part of a problem because you're missing something. Yeah. And then you had Seema, and these women are amazing.
They
by the
tried
way,
to fill the holes with people like Seema, but you
can't.
I still haven't bothered to learn the name of the documentarian. Like they're trying to fill these holes, and it just never, because they had such a magic combination, and creative differences can lead to so many bad things for an audience. And all respect to Kim for not, like, I guess, quote unquote, selling out. But, Seema, even though I love her and I think she's amazing actor.
Amazing actor.
That is not Kim Cattrall, and you're obviously going to be compared to that, so she's already at a disadvantage.
That's a job I would never. I say
but
it.
You take.
I was like, that's a job I'd never. If they're calling me right now, I'd be like, I am so in. You don't even have to pay me.
Yeah. No, because by the way, who would be dumb enough to ever turn down a role on And Just Like That? If you are up and coming.
Do you want to know who I think is one of the best actors who was amazing on the show? Was I forgive me, I don't know her name, but I thought she was so fabulous and so grounded. Was the girl who was living in Carrie's apartment?
Okay, see, now I think she is Well, see, now this is great. That's not a disagreement. I think she's
no, but this is good.
Great,
we can disagree.
She's a great actor, but I hated what she represented because she was representing, or what I think the show was trying to it's like that's the young Carrie. And to me, and maybe this is coming from an older male perspective, is that her character, as written, came off like kind of like this, I don't know, flighty goofball that you're just like, okay, you took Carrie's apartment and you like made it in two, so two people could live
now
there?
That I'm not okay with. Do you
see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do see what you're saying. I totally know. I guess for me, from a performance standpoint, she's very locked in and seems very, to be on a show like that and with all those women, I was like, she's holding her own very, very well.
Yeah.
The apartment pissed me off more than anything. So you're going to tell me this. You turned that apartment into like a Candyland game. Like there's doors and little like, like the Wizard of Oz. Like suddenly we're on the yellow brick road in Carrie's apartment. There's new walls and there's a...
And did Carrie spend a lot of money to like redo that apartment to begin with while she was there?
And and what was the door? Was it like a library kitchen? I don't even know what I was looking at. I was watching it. I was like, I don't even understand what is going on here and how this is mathematically possible. Like I'm failure at math in general, but I literally made no sense. Like there was no equation that was equaling X. Like it didn't make any sense.
Well, I almost felt, I was like, are they just trying to tell the audiences, like, we can destroy everything. So we can destroy the past, we can destroy the present, and we will destroy your future. Like, that is what that is what this show represents. And so and by the way, like, as we've said, and I've said multiple times this season, is that I did want this to keep going. I would have taken 100 more episodes, and I did like this. I was reminded of this when they announced that it was ending, was that I did a weird interview for the New York Post on the first season of And Just Like That. It was so random, and they wanted to talk to me about hate watching and So Bad It's Good in regards to And Just Like That. And I mean hate watching in the term, and like to me, it has become more of a loving term, because if I really dislike something, I really sometimes look forward to it because I'm sick in the head. So like, I wanted to know each week how they were going to bastardize something that I found really beautiful and meaningful. And, you pick it apart in pieces, like I said, and everybody's individually talented and they're acting and all of the stuff. But I looked forward to it so much that I was deeply saddened when I found out it was not coming back for a season 4, because I'm like, well, what am I going to hate watch now? Because that show is at such a good level to hate.
I was devastated. Listen, I loved the show. I am a diehard original Sex and the City fan. I love all of them so much. So to sort of watch this turn, and then you, like we said, you're just watching it from this perspective of like, now I feel like I'm like rewriting it and filling the gaps in my head. So I'm losing it. And it's a full-time job.
Yeah, it's a full-time. Well, I mean, and that's what you want with art. You want an audience to fully question themselves. Well, I had many conversations to myself where I was like, you know what? Maybe I've just had a bad day, and maybe what it is what I'm just responding to art differently as I get older, and maybe so. I always say it's like I'm tying myself up in a pretzel to find ways that I'm wrong about disliking the thing. I'm like, okay, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem here, which I still think, yeah, I'm probably part of the problem. But let's talk about Carrie and relationships, because a majority of the season was her relationship with Aiden, who in one of the final episodes, I mean, I think it's with that girl that she said, oh, I had a 22-year relationship.
Oh.
I'm like, no, you didn't. You were married to Big, who died on a flippin' Peloton, and now you live in a place that you're using his money for this nice flippin' place with the floors, and you say you were in a 22-year relationship with Aiden? The Aiden relationship, 3 chances, and you struck out for the 3rd time. What is your opinion on Carrie and relationships and Carrie with Aiden this season?
Carrie and relationships... I feel like I really am. I'm such a Carrie. Like if we're talking about, not to go back to my show, but if you come and see my show, you'll really understand why. Like it's really like and relationships. It's like looking for love. It's like I don't want to say trying to buy, she's not buying a version of, but you're really looking for love in these places that sort of just keep pushing you down, you know? It's like the Aiden's not doing anything for her, which I have a whole so much to say about Aiden. But that's why I did like at the end of that, if that was the end of an episode where she's sort of just with herself, you know, that I thought, oh my God, well, she's finally, because for years in Sex and the City, every relationship was like in big and going back and begging him, like that painful scene from the original where she's standing on the street and she's like, we are nothing. I've given you chance after chance. And it's the most relatable thing ever, because you always think in your head, oh, this time it's going to be different. I'm guilty of it. This time it's going to be different. And then you're taken down even worse. So she just keeps going. But also it's funny because I sort of have had things play out in relationships where I've even said oh, I got rid of the shopping stuff, but now I'm letting it play out in other ways, like my relationship. So it's super relatable to me. The Aiden of it all, though, I just couldn't believe that she was still with him on the sole fact that his energy was that of a dripping wet pancake.
And a dripping wet pancake that uses speed stick. He uses deodorants. Even though he always struck me as somebody that didn't use deodorant. So that detail was another thing that frustrated me, because I feel like Aiden was like, no, babe, my earthy smell. And instead we have the gardener who doesn't like to use deodorants. The gardener was Seema, who in the final episode we get to see piss, because that was going to be in the series finale of this show. But Aiden, this relationship, obviously, I mean, I'm just still confused too, because did we even have a mention of Big in this final season at all?
I think some very short, brief, if you blink, you miss it, that they said something about his name, but there was nothing. And it was I also felt that she was using Aiden to sort of get over that too, in my opinion.
Yes, but then why can't we have that scene? Why can't Miranda talk to Carrie about that? You know, instead we're treating Aiden like it is the love of her life and that Carrie is lost potentially in this relationship, instead of, man, if you have a tragic death of a character that is big as Big, which it still feels like another fever dream, that this man died on a Peloton. And if you remember this during the pandemic, it was we're nearing the end of the pandemic to a sense, but the fact that everybody was using Pelotons during the pandemic, and then I don't know how the company ever thought this would be hey, great for our brand to have Big die after he gets off a this has got to be one of the worst brand decisions in brand. I mean, I was just joking about MSNBC just changed their logo to MS Now. They announced today, and it's not going to take place until I don't know, the fall, but it reminds me of HBO Max going to Max, and now they're back to HBO Max.
Yes.
It's just really horrible brand decisions to go yeah, I sign off on this major character on the first season of a show that everybody's looking forward to die on our product.
That was one of the, I mean, this is how you and I connected, is our thing, I believe. And I will never forget that moment. And I just, when my jaw was on the floor, and
see, that's a so bad it's good moment, Nicole, where my jaw was on the floor because it's so tragic, and then I hear this guttural laugh coming from somewhere deep within me, because you can't believe it's the Che Diaz of it all, Nicole. I was with Rebecca and we were watching TikToks of old Che Diaz clips, and I forgot I've forgotten about so many of her lines where they were eating curry, and Che Diaz says to Miranda of you gotta brush your teeth because I don't need curry lingus later. And I was like, wait a second. I was like, wait, what the fuck? That was an actual line that actually appeared on television. And I'm like, of course it was. I blacked out a lot of Che Diaz's scenes.
That was Che Diaz it's historical. How about how we had to accept that Che Diaz not only was a Hollywood star, but Che was also did something called a comedy concert.
Well, and also a podcast where you took live phone calls, a podcast that you took live phone calls, which was not, that's not really, that's a radio show. That's not a podcast. And that was, and that, also in terms of like F the patriarchy, like Che Diaz was a weird example of the patriarchy. Like Che Diaz was a non-binary womanizer. Like, yes. and also maybe bisexual as well. I mean, and it was Miranda ending the Steve relationship to be with Che and to send Miranda on this journey of sexual exploration that leads to Rosie O'Donnell this season, which, by the way, in retrospect, might be my favorite performance of the whole season.
The Rosie O'Donnell in the Wicked shirt. Like the details of this, or that whole first scene.
She's a nun. Rosie O'Donnell's a nun, and then she's like, "Oh no, Miranda, my relationship with God, it'll always be strong." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's not the rules of a nun. What are you talking about?"
Nothing makes sense. And that's why it's like they just go rogue. They're like, we're just gonna throw it all up against the wall, and it's all just gonna splatter all over the place, and then we're gonna hit submit. However.
and Rosie O'Donnell, well, because then they'll set up these big things where you're like, I kept having these moments in the third, like Rosie O'Donnell, where I was like, they set it up, and I was like, because you think this show will do anything, so your mind goes to bizarre places where I was like, wait, is Rosie O'Donnell like a stalker? Like, because she was kind of like, Miranda, call me. And I was like, oh, is she going to pop up she's going to pop up and just be spying on Miranda? And it turned out it was like, no, it was just like a sweet 1-episode story arc. But also, Carrie had a cat, a little kitty, and the kitty, she'd be like, get out of there, kitty, or where's the cat? And I was like, does the cat die at some point? Because we keep I'm focusing on the cat. And I know it was probably just normal business, but in my head, this show was so bizarre that I was like, oh, I bet there is a storyline where somebody leaves the door open and the cat gets run over by the gardener or something.
100%. And exactly what we go back to is that's what happens to your brain. Is like, you can't just like sit back and enjoy, because then suddenly you have poop in the toilet and it's overflowing, and now it's all over the place on the series finale. Like that's what we're happening.
I had to see what is alleged to be Victor Garber and Epcot's poop. Like I had to, and by the way, if that was just a normal episode, I love that scene in Dumb and Dumber where Jeff Daniels like poops a lot, but even in Dumb and Dumber, we didn't see the poop. They were like, this is 2025, baby. This is HBO Max. We are showing the poop. This is a show that goes there. And then I was like, wow, even Victor Garber, they will like just dump in the trash. They will make him doing a plunging scene. Well-respected actor Victor Garber. And that's it's very and just like that, but it really bums me out that once again was the series finale.
It was top to bottom. It killed me. The finale just it hurt my heart.
You said you had more things to say about Aiden, because Aiden, we met his family, like his and that was I kept thinking the final episode was going to be his disgruntled kid coming into the city to hurt Carrie for hurting his dad, because he's obviously like, one of the storylines was Carrie had to be a drug mule for Aiden's son's Adderall. But we had bizarre moments. Like we met Aiden's ex-wife, who then we find out through a scene that Aiden had a bad day with his kids, so him and his ex ended up sleeping together, and Carrie was weirdly fine with it.
Okay, this is what I want to... She was weirdly fine with it, but then he goes bananas over the downstairs neighbor. Right. Loses his mind. I'm like, so and why isn't anybody calling this out? Why isn't that being called out that he just... Unless I missed that, but he just admitted that he slept with his ex-wife, and now she hasn't slept with this guy, but he's freaking out over him. But no one is saying like, you just told me you slept with your ex-wife, but instead Carrie takes the blame because of the trust issues that he has with her. But
okay, yes, but I will say though, Aiden, it pains me to say this, Aiden was sort of right to be suspicious because what does she do? She immediately does hook up with the writer, dude.
It's true.
And the writer's like, this is the best fiction writing I've ever read, Carrie. Like, he's like, no, this guy wants in your pants. Like the woman is like, give me a break. This guy supposedly won awards for nonfiction writing. He's very well respected. And also, he's a mysterious guy that all of a sudden pops up halfway through the season that has lived under Carrie. How do you buy a place and you forget to ask of like, hey, is there an apartment underneath this apartment? Like, actually, she never knows. She goes and tears up the garden without any sort of permit. Like, it is so bizarre.
It doesn't make any sense.
But yes, Aiden did that thing that men do, that they don't practice what they preach.
Right.
And he bitched and moaned, and he's allowed to sleep with his ex-wife, but she's not allowed to talk to the gardener. But in a sense, maybe it was because he sensed that Carrie was horny for the writer, and vice versa.
It's suspicious. And that's the thing is that when they're calling these things out, I'm like, all I want, and all it is one line. Like, all you have to do is call that out. So then in my brain, I'm like, oh, okay, they're handling that thing. But you know what I mean? But instead, it was just, to me, I was like, he just said that he slept with his ex-wife. But yes, he should be suspicious because there is something going on here. But why aren't we handling this one thing? Like, my brain can't handle it. It's exploding.
Well, all the time. And also, if you had been broken up with somebody, this is your third time, the intensity of that relationship over the years, you break up and then Carrie seems really good with it. Like, Carrie seems pretty immediately like, okay. Like, in fact, at the end of that episode, she looks great. She goes and by the way, that almost is more of a series finale where she goes into the restaurant and her girlfriends are at the table and they ended that episode that way. I think it was episode maybe 8.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that actually is like, oh, Carrie's getting her groove back, and it's all about female friendships. They'll always be there for you no matter what happens with your romantic relationships.
Right.
But that was not the overall point at the end of the day.
No. I also want to say there was just something about him. Was it the phone sex scene that they had?
Oh, with the spitting on the hand. It was crazy.
The fingers in the mouth. I said something about this and people are like, what did you want him to do? I'm like, it's not about what I want him to do. It's about what I don't want to see him doing. And what it appeared to me is that it's like he put his hands in a jar of peanut butter and he's like, like num 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 num.
Nicole, you know what it felt like for me? And tell me if you. To me, this felt like an actor input thing where he was like, "Oh, Michael, what if I lubed up my hand, right? What if I because it felt like I pray to God this wasn't written of like Aiden like licks his hand like a jar of peanut butter and then like handles his man up. What I imagined was that they were going to do this, and then on the day, Aiden the actor was like, John Corbett was like, oh, why don't I just spit? And I picture it like he didn't even tell them at first and he just spit. And they were like, hey, did you like what I did there? I felt good. Was that cool? Was that funny? And they're like, yeah, man, that's real good. Keep doing that.
Yeah, and then they sign off on it. It was so, and the Carrie's face is like, oh, like she's like, oh, and he's like, and I can't hear, I can hear his voice in my head, but there was something just, man, everything's like, Carrie, man, like, I'm like, what is going on? He's like, I'm going to lick my fingers, Carrie, man.
No, Carrie, be in this with me right now.
Yeah,
yeah. No. He honks the horn because he's in a truck. By God, the man go to his own bathroom and do it. He has to go out in the middle of a field in a beat up truck where he's like, I've gotten like 300 yards away from my family and my troubled son. That, by the way, this is another ridiculous thing. They set up the season where, remember, Aiden last season leaves and says, don't worry. What is like, it'll be a quick 3 or 5 years. It'll be a quick 5 years. And I was like, wait, how bad is the son? I was so confused. I was like, what's going on with the son that you need 5 years? And then we're told like, no, they can kind of still see each other and he can still call from time to time. Because I was like, the 5-year thing never made sense. And I think the writers wrote themselves into a corner with that because it's like, yo, in this day of like emails and phones and FaceTime, like it doesn't make sense that, and also just to have a sexy hookup in the middle of a field, it feels very actorly.
And remember he sent her a postcard too. Like, come on.
I'm shocked it wasn't like a carrier pigeon or something because the internet doesn't exist. Like, which is even the last episode, Carrie going to the restaurant and, the menu's on a tablet of like, oh, what's this? I'm eating alone in a restaurant. Like, who you think people in New York don't eat alone in restaurants?
Right. And that's the thing is that I know that with Carrie's whole thing since forever is the technology thing, right? Like in the movie, the assistant hands her the phone and she's like, I don't know how to do that, So that's like this through line of Carrie thing, but it wasn't even, and the way she looked at the iPad and I was like, okay, fine. They're keeping that whole thing going a little bit with the technology, but it was that the eating alone for me. And then they put this like massive Labubu basically in front of her, like a giant, like not really, but it was like a giant stuffed animal as if it's not normal to eat alone. And
they're like, oh, we've never had, so we need to put a weird doll in front of you because we want to save you from the embarrassment of being a woman eating alone in New York City of all places. Like people really truly give a rip. And I'm like, maybe if this was in like the 1940s or even in the period of time in which Carrie's writing her book, maybe this would make sense. But like to me, it's all about, it's like shown me like how women are so strong and so capable and so amazing and how are with it. Sometimes it just makes Carrie look like this Luddite, this kind of female that doesn't know how to do anything anymore.
Yeah, and that's
right. By the way, I want to say we both love the show. Like I wanted like that we saying all this, love the show. Like I'm very sad that it's over.
I want to make it very clear how much I love the show. Like I don't talk about it. I mean, you can ask Ryan, the first time I ever came on, you're like, so tell me, Bravo shows, do you talk about it? And I was like, no, just like that, Sex and the City all day long. Like this is my Super Bowl.
And it's part of your livelihood too, because you do all the impressions. And I'm not going to be like Jimmy Fallon and be like, hey, do all your impressions, because I've done that before. But what you do need to do is go follow Nicole on social media because all the impressions are there. So they are all there. So many on top of, she's been on the show doing Drew Barrymore before, Jennifer Coolidge. Are there any new ones that you're working on? Like is there any ones that's grabbed you lately?
Okay, so I'm obsessed with this show, Hunting Wives. And
which is on Netflix, right?
Which is on Netflix. And let me tell you something. This show had me, it's so bad. Oh, it's just so bad it's good. It's literally it is the craziest storyline of these women in Texas. And each episode just gets more and more and more. By the end, I had a crippling anxiety watching it, but there's so much, the characters in it are these Texas women.
Are the women a bunch of murderers? Are they like, what are they?
They're it's like these Republicans and it's political and the wives and there's,
but it's
situation
funny.
There is comedy in it, but it's also definitely a drama, but you're sitting there going like, this is almost also softcore porn. Like there's a lot
That's
of
what I heard. There's a lot of lesbian stuff, right? And a lot of
a lot of like they're all cheating on each other with each other, like they're best friends hooking up. But Malin Ackerman's character is so absurd. It's like every little thing is like, well, we can go outside, but don't be surprised when I finger you. Like or she's like, I'm going to do that, but then when I'm going to do it, I'm going to snort a little Coke. You ever snorted Coke? Oh, shit. Like, it's so absurd. So I just ordered
you ever snort Coke off a butthole?
Yeah, you ever spit Coke off your husband's butthole? I'm going to show you how to do it right now. Like, it's so insane. And the wigs are all really crazy. So obviously I ordered a crazy wig and this really
so you're going to do a Malin Ackerman homage.
Yes, I have to. Maybe I'll throw in a few more. But if you haven't watched that show, right?
No, I haven't. And by the way, everybody keeps recommending that show. And it really, it's like at the top of the streaming charts now.
You got to watch it because you will be able to talk about this for like.
How many episodes are there?
8. And I watched them all in one day.
Oh, wow. So things are going good, huh, Nicole? Like things are real good. Things are real good.
I'm stable and I'm getting out there at 8 hours a day of television. I'm killing it.
Oh, wait. I did see one of your posts. You said, I think you're on some dating apps and I'm not sure if that was just a joke or not, but any fun not fun, any traumatic or fun replies or any, because I remember when I was on dating apps, it was like, I mean, I would imagine there's some insanity that goes on there. Anything worth noting?
Oh, it is so obscene, the things that people think that they can say to you behind a phone. I'm so sorry if this is TMI for some people, but a man said to me that he asked me, because I have a dog, and he asked me if my dog liked to watch me have sex.
Wait, this is why there needs to be a 4th season and Just Like That. That's a storyline right there. That's a storyline.
I have a whole, Ryan, when I tell you of a whole other show, like it's one after another. I could go on and on and on.
That's great.
I would really need to go on a dating.
Do you block this person, or do you ask your dog if he does enjoy it? Like, I mean,
first I asked my dog. I asked my dog. I said, "Is this something you do? No. Do you do this? Like what?" And like, no, I did not. Oh, I immediately, you're done. Like you're done. But
and nobody, how do you crawl your way back out of that hole after you never? Yeah.
I mean, people say that. People, I've met someone out in the wild, and they say the most absurd things to me, and then I suddenly
in the wild,
and I'll meet them, and then I'll get DMs the next day, like the craziest things of that I've ever witnessed, and I don't understand what happened to like. Or you have the other side of where you meet someone and you're like, oh my God, this is really good. And then they disappear. I'm like, are you dead?
Well, are you sure they didn't? Yeah. Are you sure they didn't die? Like that could be.
Well, I think he's still alive.
Yeah. Yes.
But do you know what I mean? Like I believe that everything is too accessible now. So I'm just like.
What do you mean too accessible? Like everything's within our fingertips. So then
I think everything no one wants to commit, or they think they can say everything, because listen, if I'm not going to respond to the thing about my precious baby dog, someone else will. Some other girl probably maybe might, and be like, and then they'll get that fix from something else.
It's like what we were talking about earlier about streaming. There's so much everywhere. So much everywhere. So even like me, I'm like, should I commit to the Hunting Wives? I don't know. I ate it. Can I do it? Can I meet new characters? I always have this like agita of like new reality shows of opening my heart, or even like my hateful heart, to new characters, because I'm like, I have Vanderpump. I'm good. So it's potentially the same with dating, is that everybody feels like everything's a menu now, and there's too many options. It's like the Barney's Beanery menu, and there's like 8 pages of a Cheesecake Factory.
I 100% agree, and I think that people are also. I feel that you're letting go of connections because you're nervous of something else that potentially could be out there too.
But isn't this the stuff that and Just Like That could have focused on too? Is that like is that you? You're way younger than these ladies, but there is a conversation to be had, is that we were talking about like Aiden and Carrie, is that there's a real conversation to be had of loving somebody or aspects of somebody for so long. And then, does the one exist as you get older? Does the one, or how do you decide to settle down? I mean, these are real conversations that I don't know if they fully were able to like explore and mine.
I'm dying. I'm dying to do something with all this stuff. And here's the thing, is that I will loosely discuss dating in a very general sense. I'm never going to be the girl that's like, there's people out there that are calling out guys. And
those are some of my, I'm all for calling out guys, sure. But like sometimes the TikTok of it all, like they're like sometimes my least favorite of like, they'll screenshot
right.
Sometimes if it's super egregious, yeah. But like sometimes like, were you even interested in dating, or were you just interested in making a TikTok?
That's what I mean, is that I'm saying guys need to be called out. There's things like this that I'm like, you absolutely need to be called out. So let me make that clear. But I think that there's sometimes when I just don't want to be the girl where you're opening her page and then it's like all the things like that. Yeah. But what I will say is that I went on a date with a guy who looked at me and was like, are you going to use me in your comedy routine?
I don't know. I'm on my one woman show about a certain point of my life. We're not here.
I was like, you're lucky. I'm on something else right now. But I will discuss the overall general sense of that it's terrible. Like it just is terrible. right now.
And so then, I mean, I would imagine not aggression, but that feeling, that festers, and then that adds up to every time there is a date, because you're thinking about all the past dates and you're thinking about which to me is what, and just like that is you're watching these women potentially, that were carpet bombed by men in their 20s and 30s and seeing where they are now. That's a second show, Nicole. I know you're touring this for the next 8 years, but
but this is my life, right? Yeah, no, my life. This is my next. I want to do a next phase because, as you know, I've lived 1,000 different lives, and
she really has, you guys. That's why I say, you don't really. The show, we're talking about it in generalities, but the show really. There's a lot happens in the show, and even myself, I realize. God, I've lived a lot of different lives. And you don't think about it because I've been using the phrase eternal sunshine. You'll erase certain memories and then you'll see something and you'll be like, holy shit, that was 8 years of my life. And I completely spaced that.
Yeah. And you kind of got to go back and then sort of think about all these different things and how it kind of all adds up into where you are right now and how
can you honor the past but then keep going in the future.
Right. And I think that that's the thing too, is that this is to me also when you write things or when you do things or where you talk about, whether that's in the form of a podcast or a book or a show, or you're just simply journaling it, but you're sort of getting that out. And I think that everyone has those past things that sort of later on something hits us and goes, oh my God, this led to this, led to this, led to this. And then it's your job to start taking full accountability for the changes that you need to make in your life. I think so.
And the show really is about you taking accountability at from what I remember.
Yes.
It does lead to that point. And then, and now you're here on a podcast. So it's all worked out.
And I'm with you. It's all worked out. I'm with one of my favorite people. I adore you. This is my favorite.
By the way, I want to shout out Courtney from Two Judgy Girls, who's one of your really good friends, and you were just on their podcast. Always go support Two Judgy Girls. I think you guys already do. But you guys are always, I notice you're always big EDM dance music people. Wait, did you go to Rufus du Sol this weekend?
I didn't because Ryan, I went in Amsterdam because I'm a crazy person.
Oh yeah, you'll go overseas to see these shows.
I love to go overseas to see these shows, but Courtney said she had the best time, and
I heard it was insane to get in and out of the Rose Bowl, though.
I think that venue needs to have reevaluated. I was watching TikToks about how people didn't even make the show because they were in traffic for 2 hours.
I was on Rufus du Sol TikTok. Rufus du Sol, you guys, is this EDM actor, and they had supposedly was the largest EDM concert in North America at the Rose Bowl on Saturday night, and it seemed like it was oversold. It's always hard to get in and out of the Rose Bowl. I remember seeing Beyonce there, and it took us an hour and a half to get out of there, but it's a really impossible venue, and they told people, get here at 2:00. They were telling the audience, get here at 2:00. The show didn't start till 7 or something, but they were warning people, and then I was just on TikTok of one story after the next of misery getting in and out.
It's just, and after a show like that, and just, it's all of those shows getting out is so tough. But the stories of that, I was like, oh my God, this is miserable.
Well, that would have been a fitting into, and just like that too, is the girls go to a Rufus du Sol concert, and then
I would love to see these women at an EDM concert.
There were so many things to explore. I didn't need the rock storyline. I didn't need, these women, and I guess to finally, because I've kept you for so long.
No. I'm so love it here.
Can you speak, because obviously this is something that I don't think I will ever be able to truly understand, but the original series and the movies, and I know the concept for this, but can you speak to female friendships and what female friendships actually do mean, and what this show, especially Sex and the City, represented, or what do female friendships mean to you?
Oh my gosh, my female friendships, it's so funny. I was just having this conversation. I'm so lucky. I feel now in my life, I have a collection of the most amazing female friends, and I believe that when friends become family, you choose, and you really are with them a lot. As your parents, you get older, And to me, I think that the very similarly to Sex and the City is that when you're choosing to be friends with somebody, you're really choosing to go on a kind of the journey of life with them. And life is messy. So you have to allow for your friends to live that mess, and you can obviously within reason, but I'm talking about the things like that are happening Sex in the City and are things, and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall down and not be able to get back up maybe for a while. You're going to potentially go through depression, divorce, happiness, like the weddings, babies, all of the things, but you have to really be willing to go on those rides with them with an open heart and judgment free, and allow people to sort of live and be there for them. And for me, that is the epitome of amazing friendship, is that
how do female, but how do female friendships change as you get older? Do they change? Do they deepen? Do people fall off? What is that like?
I think definitely I think more often than not, they fall off because you want to be with people that are evolving with you. And as I think females, at least for me, I'm constantly want to be evolving and changing for the better. I don't want to be, I'm glad that I was the person that I was 2 years ago because that person now has brought me to me. But I always want to be learning and evolving and growing. And I believe that there are friendships that just, when you start to go like this, and if the other person is sort of wanting to stay at, I don't want to say it, there's no levels, but like you're not growing, you're not learning, you're not changing and evolving. And so I do believe that then they kind of fall off sometimes.
Yeah, it's a reason, a season, or a lifetime, right?
Yeah. And that's why I think I don't even know about your parents, but I feel like parents in general don't like have a million friends like you do when you're like 20.
Like, it was so funny. It's like my parents, we lived together. They had a bunch of friends that were all in the neighborhood. We grew up on the street in Kansas where everybody had young kids. So it was like really cool. And they had a group of friends. And then we moved to Arizona and they didn't know anybody. And my dad was working all the time. And then my mom was working all the time. And they had no friends. There was nobody I remember that were like hanging out, And then when they retired, they moved to a new place, and then all of a sudden they got a boatload of friends. Like they had a whole different last part of, for my mom, last part of her life, which was really cool, was that last 10-year period was like full of new friends, and it gave... They always had something insane to do. They were like going to see like Billy Joel impersonators and like weird shit that a wine club and like play all these weird like left, right, center games. It was, I'm sure it was like just key parties and orgies, but it seemed amazing. It seemed amazing.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think that that's also what, with the bringing it back to And Just Like That and Sex in the Cities, is that is sort of what we all dreamed of, is that having that core group of friends that no matter where you were in life, that you could always pick up the phone. And maybe they don't agree with you. Maybe you get into an argument or you're not speaking for a little bit and you're whatever, but you're always coming back to each other. That's what I say. And I'm like, life is messy. So you kind of have to be okay with the mess of it, and just always sort of be there. But that's what I loved about the show always, was that you were like, these women are there for like, if they're everything, like that's your that's their family.
I remember living down the street from the Viper Room, one of the first places I lived in LA, and I still friends to these days. These sisters, Nicole and Sara Hubbard and Jocelyn, they all lived and man, they lived and died by Sex in the City, and it meant the world to them. Like it really spoke to them. It's like I always know how much. And then I started watching the show, and I was like, oh, this is amazing, just as a show. Like it was just funny. It was all of that, but to them, it was Bible, and I always thought that was so. And that's why, and Just Like That happened, and who knows what will happen next. So
and Just Like That,
and Just Like That. By the way, I'm giving this season still a 2 thumbs up.
Me too.
Just for different reasons than Sex in the City. But Nicole, how do we support you? How do we find out about everything about the show, Doing All Right, and you?
Please follow. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and I always am putting updates there. And I think eventually we'll, put together an email blast, and people will be able to sign up and sort of see what's coming. But I had so much fun.
Yeah, this was a blast. You made this and no questions about her dog, you guys. Do not ask her anything about her dog.
Men,
okay?
do better. Do better.
There's no way we can do better. There's no way we can do better. It's already
better.
Game's over.
The game is over.
Nicole Travolta, ladies and gentlemen.